Your friend work downtown with you, Shirley? He asked, as Snake pulled away from the curb. Yeah, baby. And she's the only cool fay down there, too. Shirley lit a cigarette before adding, Would you believe that a good whore like her ain't got no man either? Without turning his head, Snake growled, You two whores ain't nothing but sisters under the skin, Shirley. What you got planned? You choose me and Carrie ends up with Teddy? Both women laughed. Now that the fear of not copping was over, both women started to relax. What's wrong with that, Snake? Shirley asked. Nothing. Except I know that you're a bad, chasing bitch, and it looks like your partner might be following in your footsteps. Snake answered coldly. Ever since they started dealing, women had been no problem. Each night, they would have to run the female drug addicts out before they went to sleep. He turned on the block where Porky lived and parked. The street was jammed with cars. Everywhere he looked, he could see a car full of addicts waiting for their buyer to come back. Teddy cursed. Damn! You don't have to worry about whether or not Porky got any stuff. Just look at the cars. Man, every dope fiend in the city must be at his house. I better hurry up before he changes his mind, too, Snake answered as he climbed out. You gonna wait until I get back, Teddy? Yeah, man. I think I'll keep the women company. You ain't gonna shoot no stuff while you in there, are you? The question went unanswered, because Snake was already on his way across the street. When he finally got inside the apartment, he almost had to fight his way through the milling crowd. Addicts were everywhere. Minnie and Terry were still in the apartment. They had finally got waited on. Minnie split the $20 pack. Terry stared at her small amount. She realized that it would not be enough to take her sickness off if she snorted it. Minnie read her mind. You better get you a set of works, honey, if you want to feel that dope. For a moment, a feeling of being utterly lost washed over her. In the back of her mind, she knew she was getting ready to go over the last barrier. There was no way around it. She had to get rid of her junk sickness, and the dope she had was not enough. As she stared at it, she wondered if it would be enough even if she shot it. Could I use that set of works you had? She asked the addict sitting next to her. He removed a neatly wrapped bundle from his coat pocket. Just be sure you clean them out when you finish using them, he said, and held his set of tools out to her. When Snake passed the couch, he stopped for a moment and stared as an addict hit Terry in the arm. As he pressed the dropper, her eyes closed. Snake walked on past. It was just another step down the line for her, he thought. Not surprising, really. Just about any user would eventually start shooting instead of snorting, if he had any veins to go in. In the long run, it was a whole lot cheaper to shoot than to snort. He reached the bedroom door and knocked. Who the hell is that now? A voice yelled from the other side of the door. Snake tried the door. When it opened under his hand, he walked in. What's happening, Porky? What's the real deal? He yelled across the bedroom. Porky was busy trying to hit his woman in the groin. What's wrong with you, nigga? Don't you believe in waiting until someone lets you in a door? He snarled. The day's events had just about worn Porky out. He had never seen the likes of this before. His two dogs stood up and growled as Snake walked across the floor. You still got that piece for me, ain't you, Porky? He asked nervously. Porky nodded towards Big Ed, who was standing in front of a mirror, trying to hit in the neck. He got it. If I'd known it was going to be like this, Snake, I'd never have sold that piece to you. Before Porky could change his mind, Snake pulled out his money and started counting out the $400. He walked over to the dresser and laid the money in front of Big Ed. You think you'll have enough to sell me another piece tomorrow, Porky? Hell no, Porky exclaimed. Fuck no. You're getting a goddamn break on this fourth now. You think I'll go for the same fucking thing again tomorrow? Pulling the needle out of Smokey's groin, Porky cursed. This goddamn bitch ain't got no veins nowhere. Should make her take a funky ass to the hospital and kick. How about trying and find a hit for me, Snake? Smokey asked, her voice rising slightly. Her hand shook as she held the works out toward him. You might be able to hit that same vein as the last time you hit me. I ain't been back in this since, 'cause I don't just let anybody hit me under the arm." She pulled her dress down and stood up. For a brief moment, Snake wanted to say no, but after looking at her face, he knew he couldn't turn her down. He waited until she removed her blouse and raised her arm. As he probed for the vein with his finger, he thought cruelly to himself, at least the bitch changed bras since the last time. After about 10 minutes, he finally hit a vein. The dark blood that filled up the dropper told him he had a hit. Before the works had time to clog up, he pushed down slightly on the bulb, and the blood and dope disappeared in the hidden vein under a mass of dark hair. Before Snake reached the car, Porky had received a long-distance call from Chicago. He was now beginning to get some action on all the calls he had made in the past few days. He talked quietly into the receiver for a few moments, shook his head in agreement, then hung up. He walked slowly towards the door and opened it. "Everybody out," he said. As Big Ed passed him, he whispered, "Get ready, Ed. We'll be leaving for Chicago in the next few minutes." As soon as the room emptied, he smiled gleefully at his woman. "Give me $6,000 together, Smoke. I'm getting ready to ride out, and when I get back, we'll bust this panic wide open." Smokey moved off the bed with more speed than she ordinarily displayed. "Who was that, Porky? Sid?" "That's right, baby. He said I could get all the pee. Pure, I want it, at $600 apiece. He thinks he's charging me top dollar for it, but I'll make so much money off it, we'll be nigger rich when I get finished." Smokey walked over to the corner nearest to the bed, where the dog slept. She pulled back a floor rug that the dogs lay on most of the day. Next, she removed 3 boards from the floor, then pulled out a small tin box. Removing a key from around her neck, she opened it. "You still got that $3,000 I brought back earlier, Porky, in your pocket, so all you need is $3 grand more." "Better give me 4, girl. You never can tell what might happen when you're in Chicago." He continued to dress as he talked over his shoulder to her. "Count up how much we got left in the box, too. If it's too much, you better get ready to make a trip to the bank." Smokey sat down on the floor with her back against the wall, between the dogs. "That don't leave but $2,000 with me, Porky. I ain't counted up what we done made so far today, but it ain't hardly over $1 grand. His eyes caught hers briefly as he dropped his pants. "You better hold out a piece of stuff for yourself, in case I should be longer than what I planned." He slipped on the pants to his suit and put on a gold silk shirt. The suit he wore was very expensive, a black silk mohair. After dressing, he stuck a large cigar in his mouth. Porky actually disliked smoking them, but thought they went with his big-shot appearance. He stuck 2 more cigars in his pocket. "I should be back before daylight in the morning, but if I ain't, don't worry. Oh yeah, if anybody wants to buy a piece of stuff, sell it for $500. You can call Snake and Teddy up and let them know they can cop another piece, only it will cost them an extra $100. Porky walked over to the closet, pushed 2 of Smokey's minks aside, and pulled out his cashmere overcoat. Smokey got up off the floor and went to the closet. She pulled out 3 hat boxes and set them on the floor. In each hat box, there was a Knox 100, each one specifically made to order. Smokey took a sincere interest in seeing that her man was dressed right, and he did the same thing in regards to her. They shared a tacit understanding when it came to clothes. Though neither really cared about dressing, they had just about everything a person could want in their closets. Porky walked over to the bedroom window and glanced out, trying to gauge the weather. "It might snow while we're on the highway," he said offhandedly, not really speaking to her, but voicing his thoughts out loud. It was already starting to get dark, though it was still early in the evening. Smokey held out Porky's hat to him. He broke the stingy brim down and set the hat ace-deuce across his head. While he was adjusting it in the mirror, Smokey stuck her hand under the pillow and came out with a small .38 Derringer pistol. She silently held the gun out to him. He stuck it down in his huge waistline, his enormous stomach completely covering the small pistol. Big Ed and Dave led the way down the stairs, with Porky following them closely, like some monstrous prehistoric beast. Outside, the chilling wind tugged at their clothes as they made their way toward the long Cadillac brougham sitting at the curb. Porky climbed in the back, taking up most of the seat, while his gunman got in the front, He waved at Smokey, who was watching him silently from the window, and the large car leaped away from the curb. 5 hours later, they roared in off the highway. Chicago's lights seemed to wink at them as Big Ed steered the car off the freeway and into the heart of a black ghetto. Porky gave him directions from the back seat until finally they pulled up in front of a motel. Dave jumped out and ran over to check them in. He came back, dangling a key. "How long you figure we gonna be over here, Porky?" he asked as he climbed back in the car.